congratulations to be here.
I lived in Hungary 15 years ago, and it was here that I felt a calling from God to defend human dignity. And so it's very special to be here again and to be speaking about these issues. I thought that the things I work on were extremely difficult, and I realize I'm not the only one in that space. I believe that all individuals, all people, have the right to live in love, free from sexual abuse and exploitation, to thrive. But right now, sexual exploitation has become the wallpaper of our children's lives, even of our lives. Our kids now see hundreds of hypersexualized images every single day, compared to so many less that I saw as a young girl growing up. Pornography has definitely touched every single one of you and your homes, your families, people that you love. Right now, we see that pornography, child sexual abuse, and sex trafficking have merged online into being one industry, yet we're still fighting these as though they're separate. We have to understand that this is having an impact on our children. It's having an impact on our faith and on our religion, on the value of life, and it's having a huge impact on family and marriage. I don't have time today to share the reams of research about sexual abuse and exploitation and the impacts on individuals and society. I come before you today with potential solutions. If you want a world that respects human dignity, we cannot allow sexual exploitation to be the norm. We need efforts at the top levels of government, and we need to all be involved in combating these issues. I want to talk about how we can't address any one of the exploitation or abuse issues in a vacuum. They're not happening in a silo. They're all connected and they reinforce one another. Just a brief example, if you take the issue of sexual violence against women, we will never solve violence against women if we don't also address the role pornography is playing. When our young boys and young girls are watching extremely violent, hardcore pornography as early as age 6 and 7, it's changing their sexual templates. It's changing what they think is normal and how they treat one another, even how they expect to be treated. Another example, if we want to curb sex trafficking, which so many agree is an egregious evil, we can't ignore prostitution. Sex trafficking is only happening in the prostitution marketplace. It's the demand for prostituted people that drives sex trafficking. I'm bringing to you 3 areas of ideas. I believe at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, where I serve in Washington, D.C., we've come up with a very successful recipe that's really working. We are working on demanding corporate change. The reality is that major corporations are facilitating and profiting from sexual abuse and exploitation, and we should not allow that to continue. Big tech, for example, the travel industry, I could keep going on. And we're seeing massive change as we put pressure on big companies. We're also seeing change as we have started a law center and we've begun filing civil lawsuits in the United States, and we're seeing lawsuits now filed in Canada. I come before you to invite you to join us in filing more lawsuits, perhaps in your land. We're seeing that as we're suing companies like Twitter. Twitter knows that child sexual abuse material or child pornography is extremely rampant on their platform. They're even running advertisements to this content. And so we're suing Twitter in federal court in the United States for sex trafficking 2 young boys who Twitter said didn't violate their community standards, and they made tons of money off of these young boys. And right now we're seeing incredible progress and we're winning in the courts. We also believe that policy is key. I come before you today to really share some ideas about policy that you could take back to your nations. Okay, so the 3 areas I want to talk about is creating safe spaces online so our youth can connect, learn, love, and thrive. Right now, there are rules governing the physical world, to create safe spaces in the physical world. There are very few rules in the digital world, and we're not expecting big tech to create safe spaces for ourselves or for our kids. Right now, the current state of responsibility for protecting kids against exploitation and abuse, it's on them. We expect kids to be able to protect themselves, to be able to withstand the predatory targeting and grooming coming at them. We expect them to be able to turn off the pornography when, even as adults, we have a hard time turning away from this content. The burden cannot be on kids. The next area right now, currently, for protection lies on parents. I have 4 babies, 1 more on the way, and no matter what I do, thank you. No matter what I do, I cannot protect my kids from the pernicious evils that are online. This needs to change. We have to flip the script and make sure that the responsibility is on big tech to create safe spaces online, with the government helping to outline and regulate and hold them accountable. Then parents and children come along to help protect themselves. A few ideas for doing this. We need to ensure as nations, for our individual nations, that there are minimum safety standards required on social media platforms. Right now, for example, on most of the social media platforms, an adult can send a private direct message to a child. It doesn't matter that they don't know each other. Nearly all of the kids I've spoken to, we've had a number of focus groups in the United States, have received sexually explicit messages from adult strangers coming at them. And we expect our kids to be able to handle that. Why are these platforms allowing adults to message young children? You could take that back to your country and change it. We got Instagram to change. We could get the other big platforms as well. There should be comprehensive criminalization of online child sexual exploitation and abuse. And this means that websites like Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok who knowingly facilitate child sexual abuse should be held accountable. We can make sure that there are built-in filters to block pornography that are automatically turned on. Our devices, our phones they come with built-in filters. The problem with the iPhone, for example, is that it takes 31 steps to turn that on. As a parent, that's almost impossible to keep up with. You can go back to your nation and ensure that these devices automatically have the filters turned on. We've been passing laws in the states in the U.S., and it's working. And so I know that you can do it also at the national level in your nations. Verifying the ages of individuals who visit pornography websites. We're seeing that in a few different countries now, and it's succeeding. Or right now in the United States, the law has set the digital age of adulthood to 13. We say that kids at age 13 are digital adults and have a right to privacy. That is what? Their brains are not developed enough. You can also help to change that and ensure that the digital age of adulthood is above 16. So those are some ideas. The next is we can dismantle the pornography infrastructure. A few ideas. We're seeing right now that sex trafficking and child sexual abuse material is rampant on pornography websites. Anybody can make a video and upload it with almost no verification of age or consent. We're seeing crimes crossing countries' borders, and there's been no accountability for these big pornography companies. That can change. If you pass legislation, we pass legislation that verifies the age and meaningful consent of all individuals who are depicted in pornography, we begin to restrict the porn industry and change how it works. There's been laws introduced in Canada. One will be introduced in the United States in the coming weeks. We need swift removal of non-consensual content from explicit websites. We need to require public health warnings. There are so many public health impacts resulting from exposure to pornography. And if we just simply tell people about that, they can make more informed decisions. Now, I want to talk also about curbing sex trafficking. I think many of us care so much about this issue, but what we don't recognize is that the only way to significantly reduce sex trafficking and prostitution and all of the related crimes and harm and trauma that come with it is if we target the sex buyers. There's 4 different models that have legal models around prostitution and sex trafficking in the world. The only one that has proven at all effective in shrinking the commercial sex trade is targeting sex buyers. They're the individuals who are responsible for the entire network of harm. It's just simple economics, supply and demand. Supply will rise to meet the demand, and sex buyers drive the demand for sex trafficking and prostitution. So all laws that you might be thinking about in your nation really need to increase accountability for the sex buyers and create robust services for those who are seeking freedom from sexual abuse and exploitation. I hope that these are some helpful ideas. Our organization has drafted model legislation. We have lots of research to help you if you're interested in pursuing any of these solutions. And I leave that with you. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.